Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unemployed Millennial Podcast. I am your host, Anne Marie. I do kind of have a topic and theme. I fully spent this morning planning a different episode out. I didn't spend too much time on it. It was probably like 20 or 30 minutes. But I went on my Instagram while my mom was doing my hair. And if you're listening to this on audio, I'm just sitting in a car outside of my parents' place, and I'm recording this podcast from the car, and it's kind of a vibe. I love driving. I always think that cars represent freedom. I started driving when I was 14 years old in Alaska. That's when you can get a permit, and I would actually, don't tell anyone, but I mean, my parents even know this, I would just drive when I was like 14 as if I had a license. Not all the time, just a few times I did. And I would take it was always to like pick my sister up or something, or it was with my sister. So our thought process was if I got pulled over, I could just use her license, which maybe wouldn't be good for her, but, I was good. So yeah, I love driving. I love cars. I think it's like, it represents freedom to me. And I got a perfect score on my driver's test when I was 14 years old. And I just love driving. That's a huge thing that I missed when I was living in New York. And I didn't have a car in Austin either. So I moved out of Austin last week. It was the most perfect last week that I could have asked for. But to close out the loop that I started with, apparently my mom literally just braided my hair. And I was scrolling on my Explore page on Instagram. And it said something about like the stars. It's Venus in Capricorn or something. Now I can't see it. Today, Venus, the planet of love, enters the sign of Capricorn. Relational maturation. So I thought this would be a fun little thing to talk about because I have been feeling the love lately. I don't know if this is going to be like an episode on relationships and dating, but yeah, I moved out of Austin, and I guess I can just say, I would say my family friend helped me move out, but we started dating. So that's nice and fun and very on theme for whatever today is. So I have been moved out of Austin for officially a week. I'm still going to post this on Tuesday. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday. I'm running out of daylight because I woke up today and I went to a dentist appointment. And I haven't been to the dentist in at least like 2 years. The last time I went to the dentist was the first time I ever got a cavity, so that was not fun. But there's just something about dentists. Maybe it's just me being mistrustful as a person. I don't know. I actually feel like I am. There was like a period in the last like year where I was just like, everything is dark and gloomy, including people. And I feel like I had like a lot of things and interactions with people that just sent me into like a darkness. But in the last like year and a half, I would say, or I guess in the last half year, I have encountered like many people that I think are very light, and maybe it's just my inner world that has been like nurtured and healed more so that I can see the light in other people. But I also just think that there is some darkness in the world that everyone should acknowledge. And it doesn't mean that people are bad, but I do feel like I have just encountered a lot of lightness in the last half year, which has been really good because I feel like if I had kept encountering those people who were just like energy vampires or mosquito people, I don't know, that would be really tough. So I guess like looking back, I'm very grateful for all the people in my life currently. But let me tell you about my dentist. Okay. So my mistrust of dentists started when I was in Anchorage. I guess it's not helpful that I always am constantly like switching dentists around. I went here where my parents live just because my mom just kept reminding me, and honestly, she's like, I guess you could have just waited until you got back to Anchorage, but I don't know when that is, and sometimes you just need to do things and like pay the money to get it done, because otherwise you might not do it and you might just keep prolonging it, and things like health is very important. But I have a huge mistrust of dentists, and it's not even like I have like dentist anxiety. I'm kind of fine. Like, I think going to the dentist and like having tooth stuff done is a great practice for a meditative practice. Like, I think Tim Ferriss says this, like, if you think you're, like meditate a lot and you're good at keeping your inner peace, like try living a week or whatever with your family, which is what I do all the time. But my mistrust of dentists started probably when I was like after college. And today even my dentist was like, so what's the consensus on your wisdom teeth? And I'm just like, yeah, it's always like like he looked at my upper wisdom teeth and he's like, those are fine, but I would not mind if you got them removed. And then the thing that my today dentist said was, yeah, so I always tell people that they should just remove their dentist or their wisdom teeth, because I have this one story. There's this 50-year-old woman who waited to get her wisdom teeth out, and she got an infection and she almost died. She was in the hospital for a month. And I'm just like, that was my first red flag. I'm just like, I don't know. I think how you do anything is how you do everything, and just communicating, fear mongering, just saying, like, there are just so many other convincing ways to get patients to trust you that you are actually doing the right thing. That just something about dentists. Maybe I've just had poor experiences, but this happened when I was like 18. I was going to my internship in China in 4 days, in Shanghai, China. And I don't know, I was 18 or 19 because no. Yeah, that actually sounds right. I was a freshman in college, so the freshman summer, and I had just gotten home or whatever. I'd spent the pre-summer at home in Anchorage, and this dentist in Anchorage was like, yeah, so you need to get your wisdom teeth taken out, and you need to do that ASAP. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to China, because at this point I trusted dentists. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that after I get back from China. And he's like, when are you going? And I was like, in 4 days. And he literally was like, oh, you could get it done like tomorrow and then have like a few days to heal. And then I'm just like, yeah, and then I don't know, spend the airplane. Like, there are a lot of things that I thought were wrong with that. And then even the dental hygienist, I feel like the dental hygienists are always like little saints, like next to this like this evil money grabbing person. I should go to like one of my best friends, his brother is a dentist. Maybe I should start going to people that I actually trust in my real life. But I don't even think he's like a pediatric dentist. But yeah, that was when I started my mistrust of dentists. And I just feel like, my dentist today, that I met today, after he told me, that was the first story that he told me, was how this woman almost died. Like, good to know one woman in her 50s almost died from having her wisdom teeth in. He just like repeated, he was just the way he was talking, I just didn't trust him. And he like said the word ROI. He interrupted my hygienist to like test out new chairs, and then she like switched her chair and then touched all the chair and then put her fingers back in my mouth. So that was a thing. He was like, oh yeah, you can buy this like extra toothpaste for like $15. And just to spite him, like, of course I can spare $15 for a toothpaste. I just didn't even take the toothpaste, but I did pay the $400 fee. But I actually have not had health insurance for ever since I got kicked off of my parents. So that's like a huge thing that I'm needing to do this year. Since I turned 28, I'm getting up there in ages, and I watched one of like Shelby Church's videos on things that are really expensive, and she was saying like this ridiculous number for her health insurance, and I don't know, it was like $400 or something. I don't actually know, but it was kind of crazy a month. And luckily I've not had anything bad happen to me, so I feel like I'm just like saving money on not having health insurance. But I mean, like, my brother is in his last year of residency, and I told him I don't have health insurance. He's like, you need to get that. So I will prioritize that this year, now that I'm in my late 20s. And I don't know, I always tell like some of my friends who want to go snowboarding, I'm like, well, I don't have health insurance, so I don't know if I want to do that, because I'm pretty careful. I'm like a pretty cautious person, but you never know what can happen. So I need to get health insurance. And yes, I am living back at home with my parents, but I kind of love it. I love the life that I've chosen for myself. I really don't mind it. There's this girl who's almost exactly my age, I think, named her name is like Honest Kitchen on Instagram, and she follows me, which I'm honored. I kind of feel like I discovered her. I mean, I definitely didn't discover her. She probably had at least like 100 or less than 100,000 followers when I first started following her. Her name is Honest Kitchen, and I made a video on my channel called I'm 27 and still live with my parents, or something like that. She also did a similar video where she was 27 and living with her parents, but she articulates it. I don't know if I've ever taken the time to like really articulate it. That I don't know. I don't see living with my parents as a bad thing. I think on clickbait it's like supposed to come off that way, but I'm very close with my parents, and Tim Urban has a blog post that I discovered through Tim Ferriss. And he basically analyzes his life if you're living until 90. And he diagrams it. He draws it all out. And he has this huge graph of your life, fits on one page. And he's like, by the time he wrote it, he was like 33. But this was like 10 or so years ago. I think it was 2011. Essentially he does the math, and he's like, I visit my parents probably like 5 times a year for no more than like 2 days. He's like, so essentially I've already spent 93% of all the time that I will spend with my parents. And I have thought about that so many times since I heard Tim Ferriss talk about it and I first looked it up, where that's actually definitely not true for me, because I constantly am coming back to live with my parents. I really don't think they mind, honestly. But I'm also very close with them, and I kind of sometimes feel like an obligation even. I'm just like, what are my parents up to? I need to go check up on them. Maybe that's codependency. But I also think that the way that the US views living with parents, I don't know. I have a Korean mom, and I also think my dad, though. My dad's like very American and Western, but I think the way that it's viewed in the West is stupid, honestly, where I think sometimes we are set up to make our lives so much harder than they need to be, where if we are truly like a part of a community or a family, then we can solve like so many of our issues and live so much healthier and happier. There is a loneliness epidemic. Now that I use the website Epidemic, I'm like, am I saying that right? It's like to find your YouTube music. A lot of like creators use it. If you want to have a referral link, I can link it below. That's where I find like a lot of my music. But I don't know. There's so many issues. There are so many things that could be solved, I feel, just by living like with or close to family. And I was talking to my sister and our friend. It's her friend, but I became friends with her through my sister, and we have this little group chat, and it's called The Artist's Way, because I love that book, and we all read it together. And that pretty much convinced us all to quit our jobs, whether for the good or bad. But we have this group chat, and our friend is like working 2 jobs. She's a pet owner of an iguana and a cat now. And she really is doing like a lot with sustaining herself and just like living her life. And she like sent us a group text voice memo that really made me think, because I don't know, there are periods of time in my life where I'm like making money, doing a lot, working really hard, and then there are periods of time where I'm resting. And I've talked about this like plenty of times on my podcast before, like sprint and rest. But she seems to be in a rest or a sprint state. And also I feel if you like live in a place like New York City, you have really high rent, so you're constantly kind of having to sprint, or else you can't pay rent. And then, you know, like you need to be able to eat and pay your rent. But she said something that I really thought a lot about, and she was just like, she was like doing this test for one of her jobs, and she just was having a super busy week, and she was like, I just wish that there was like someone who could share the burden or responsibility that she was having to take of just like cooking or something like that, or cleaning, so that she could focus like a little bit more when she needed to. And I totally thought about that, and I was like, wow, I feel really lucky that I just like to live with my parents, because if I have something that I'm trying to do, like before the pandemic first started, I enrolled in a coding boot camp because I was a huge Naval Ravikant fan, or I still am. But he talked about how, if you know how to code, you know how to like build the world. But he also says, either learn how to code or learn how to create like content or books, stories, whatever. So I tried the coding thing for like a little bit, and then I realized that I was spending way too much time on my computer, and it just didn't click in my brain like it did for some other people. Like there was like a mid 40-year-old mom who just like understood coding so much better than I could. So I was like, this is not my natural expertise. But I did like a little vlog series about it. And I also think I talked about how difficult it was for me. But it's funny because my sister actually ended up learning how to code like on her own, because she just wanted to build an app, and she spent like, she's built like full functioning app. When it comes out, I'll definitely talk about it, because I would love for her to get that tested, because she's been working on it for a long time. Oh my gosh, is that a bunny? I think it's a bunny. Okay, anyway. So yeah, Allie was talking about how she just wished that she could like live in community, or have some of these problems like taken away, or have them be helped. And I know that not everyone like has their parents' place to move back into, or would even want to. I was even talking to my dentist today, and he was like, how long are you staying here? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just kind of vibing. And he was like, until your parents can tolerate you. And I was like, probably until I can tolerate my parents. He was like, oh, I get you, I was just with my mom. This guy's like at least a 60-year-old man, probably older than my dad actually. But he was like, yeah, I had my oven light on, and she told me to turn it off and told me not to waste electricity. And I told her, you're not paying my bills. But, I kind of sided with his mom. I told him to get a candle. But, I don't know. I think a lot of people also just waste electricity unnecessarily. Oh, that is a bunny. I thought it was a rock at first. I was like, oh, that might be a rock, but he's moving. It's a bunny. Okay. That's so cute. So yeah, I feel very blessed in that way, and I don't know, I think it's kind of dumb that more people don't live like that. I think in other places in the world, I'd be curious if you're from a different country, this is much more common, but in America, we're just like, I think we just make things harder for ourselves, harder than necessary, where my parents were never like, when you're 18, we're kicking you out, because my parents chose to have me as a kid. And I feel like if I have kids, it's like gonna be my decision to bring them into the world. I don't know if my parents even agree with this, but I kind of feel like if you're the one choosing to have kids, like that should be an open invite. I don't know. I don't know. I know that you can like learn. I always learn probably the most when I'm living off on my own. Like when I was in Austin, I was like cooking for myself every day. Whereas here, my mom's love language is food. So she'll feed me and overfeed me, but I've constantly just kind of like moved out and then come back to live with my parents and have that support. And I think either that should be a system that friend groups or communities like set up for themselves. I kind of feel, that's kind of how I feel, or I felt in my last two places and the last two houses that I lived. But anyway, so that is kind of how I feel about living with my parents. I don't at all see it as a bad thing, and I don't even think my parents really see it as a bad thing. I kind of feel like I'm not sure that I will move out on my own and like find like a full year lease. Like I kind of like what I've been doing. At first it was unintentional, but now it's kind of just like a thing that I'm used to. And maybe it's because I was like a military brat growing up where we moved a lot and I'm used to moving, because I know that a lot of people have trouble just like changing their environment. But I think it's kind of, I don't know, I like I've been liking just, also, I think it's just like the state of the world. Like, I don't, like, I would consider, or I was considering over this past year, like moving to New York. But I don't know, like, I don't think we know the state of the world right now. And I have like kind of doubts about New York. I just don't know if it's going to be like the place, a safe place to live. And that's like a popular opinion that I've talked about before. But not everyone's parents like has the space, or like it would be a pleasant experience to live with their parents. But I'm very, very, very lucky and blessed that like I like my parents and they have like the space and capacity to house me. So that's kind of my update. I am now here, and I said in the very end of my last podcast that I didn't really have a plan. I have like a general plan for this year, but I don't have like a I will be here this time. Actually, I kind of am. I'm really not like too worried about my plans, and I know that I don't know. The cool thing about living at home is that I have like the flexibility, or greater flexibility, to travel, and I don't feel like the guilt of traveling and like still paying rent and having to leave my place unattended or whatever. So I think I'll be doing some traveling. I have a few projects that I've been working on for like too long that I want to wrap up so that I can like start earning money from my YouTube again. Or I need to face the reality and just like get a job if it's really just not going to work out, because I've really not been posting on my channel for like the last year. But I honestly feel like I've seen this kind of a lot, even in creators, and a ton of creators are quitting YouTube, where I feel like I was either just really burnt out or just not in the mental headspace, but I really don't feel that way anymore. My internal state of being is like much more stable and better. So that's amazing, but I feel very ready to just start creating again on a more consistent basis after I finish this one, maybe two projects that I'm working on, which would cover like kind of a lot of how I feel about New York and leaving New York, and just kind of saying goodbye to that era and the idea of me moving there or just trying to be there all the time, which I think is really special. So it's like I'm currently just making like a lot of projects for my heart and soul, where that's not the best business decision and idea. Like a lot of even YouTubers are like, do one for me, one for you, which is like you, the audience, which would like help grow my channel, and then one for me, which is whatever feeds my soul. But I feel like my last video, all of my videos for like this year have kind of just been for me, which I don't know. I don't think I have the capacity to do that right now. So, and like living at home with my parents like helps me to be able to do that. I don't have to like worry right now about, or stress about like feeding myself. Like my sister lives in DC, and she is like very stressed about like money. Even people who like have a lot of money who have no troubles, like I don't know, it's interesting just like seeing the mindset around money. But I feel good about it right now. So I have like two projects that I just really, one for sure, I don't know, I feel very ready to like just dive deep into creating again. And it's like I even have dreams about it, and yeah, I feel ready. So okay, back to the love situation, or the Venus and Saturn, whatever, Capricorn. It caught my eye because I know that I'm a Capricorn, but I don't really know anything outside of the Capricorn astrological sign. I just keep looking at this little bunny. But yeah, so this is funny because I was actually not planning on announcing this at all, but I think it's kind of helpful because it's helping me get used to saying it too. Because, okay, so I actually really didn't plan on divulging that I was even in a relationship, because it's super, super new. I actually think it'll, like, I have confidence in it. I have faith. Like, I don't know. I think it's solid. So I'm not worried about that aspect. But I just have not been in a relationship for a really long time. So it's like kind of even weird just being like, oh, this is my boyfriend. Because like, you know, it hasn't been that long. So this is actually kind of exactly why I have a podcast though. Cause sometimes I'll have people like in my own personal life be like, oh yeah, I was listening to your podcast, and I would just never ever guess that they would actually take the time or just be listening to this podcast. So I guess this is like kind of a way, because I'm kind of someone who like, I hate repeating myself to an unnecessary degree, because I feel like that's kind of like surface level, or I don't know, sometimes my sister has like ADD and I can tell that she's not listening, and so I'll be saying something and then I'll like realize that she's not listening, and then I'll be like, I'll just stop talking. And then she'll ask me to repeat myself, and then I tell her no. And then if she really wants to listen and hear, then she'll be like, come on, I'm listening. But otherwise, I just like don't really like doing it just for the sake of talking. So I guess it is kind of helpful to announce that I am now dating, for anyone who is wondering. And yeah, that's some good stuff right there. It's nice though, because I don't know, I mean, there are a lot of good things about dating, but this one feels good, obviously, and I don't even know what I'm trying to say with this one, so maybe I'll just leave it at that. But I feel like that is a good thing to announce. And I feel like that's a good signal, you know, to just like put out into the world. I don't know if I would want to put my significant other in content. I think I have chosen to be like a personality, and it's even hard for me. Like, I think a whole part of the journey of becoming a successful creator is literally learning how to deal with feedback and being in the things that come with being a creator. Like, a lot of the time I just want to post a podcast and like not edit anything out, and a lot of the time I'll find myself, I actually stopped doing this. I used to go through for the first few episodes, I would go through like 2 or 3 times, even just these solo episodes, until I asked my friend Catherine. I was like, hey, Catherine, she has her own solo podcast, and I was like, how many times do you edit this? Because I'm starting to get really sick of hearing myself. And she was like, I just go through it once and then cut whatever needs to be cut, and then I'm good. I think a problem with having like a PR brain is you kind of know what will set people off and like trigger people. And a part of the journey is just being like, okay, what do you care about and what do you not care about? Like, what are your own things that you're trying to spread? What are your values? Because people can always take insult or find fault in something that you say. So you have to actually like build the body armor and like the mental armor if you want to be a creator online and like have like a sizable audience. I think a lot of like my own lack of posting and like lack of growth is me holding myself back because I'm sensitive. I'm very highly sensitive. So that kind of stuff like has held me back a lot, but I think that's something that I've worked on a lot. So that's something that I've chosen for myself, but for like a partner or a significant other or even like family, really, like they didn't choose to do that or be recognized in that way, unless like my mom is like good with it. My siblings actually are the people who taught me this. I think it's at first it really like kind of was lame because sibling content does better. Like sister content, I remember I tried starting a channel with my sister very, very early in the YouTube days. Like I've always tried starting my channel with other people because I love group efforts. I love collaborating with other people. And my siblings are really the ones who taught me, first of all, no, not everyone wants to be in content. Like they didn't really always want to be in my stuff, which I'm actually grateful for nowadays because I feel like if I just put them in everything, then I would just like assume that everyone wants to be in content. And a lot of people do. Like one of my friends, Polly, called me, and in 2020 I made this video called like what it's really like living in Alaska, and we went to like Palmer And he called me and he left me a voicemail, and he was like, I just watched that and it was so great, because I'm never a part of something that's like well edited, or just like I don't have a lot of videos of me that are captured like how I did. I literally just captured a day in our life, like going around one of our family friends' plots of land and like, going four-wheeling. And that's why I started my YouTube. Sometimes I forget. Like, it's weird because I've had my channel for so long now that I'm trying to do this like as a job, and work with other creators. And in order to do that, like, you have to kind of offer something and bring something to the table to some degree. I think like a lot of what I bring to the table is just my presence and like whatever, my personality. And I think I offer like a calmness to people, or like perspective, or just like whatever. I think I have something other than just like my followers. But it is important if you want to do it as a job, I guess. I still don't think I'm trying to convince myself that it's important to like cater more to an audience. So it was a good reminder of just being like, okay, the majority of the reason why I'm doing this is to create my own memories, but it's also a gift to other people if you're able to create a great video and include other people. And I think I've been like a little bit jaded because I've been around so many other YouTubers who have this as a gift, where they are in other people's videos or in their own videos, like they're like the main character of their own videos, so they don't value it as much, where it's actually a gift that you can give to like have someone or capture a moment in someone else's life that they can look at and remember. Like, that's how Polly phrased it, which is really beautiful. But yeah, half of this journey, I guess, for me has been just like learning how to develop like a thicker, it's not half of the journey, but like definitely a part of it, of being a creator. That's why when people like blow up, I don't really get jealous of like anyone's journey on YouTube, because I feel like I'm definitely like on my own little path. But sometimes I worry for people who blow up really fast, because it may seem all like light and fairies and butterflies, but it can be hard for sure. So yeah, with all of that, I'm not sure that I would want that for my partner, because they just like didn't choose it as their career. And also, like, if I have kids, like, sometimes, I mean, I haven't really been posting, but you'd be surprised, like, just what the world like seems like a smaller place when you start putting yourself out there, which is kind of beautiful. But also, like, I also value privacy, so like that's also kind of why I like kind of like, I want to be like well known to the right people in the right space. Like, I never want to be like ultra mega famous to everyone, because you just like be recognized by everyone just because they know your face. Like, that doesn't seem great to me at all. So yeah, I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's like a conversation for like a couple to have, of if they want to include their person. But yeah, that's like kind of a random little tangent side thing. So I think the sun is pretty much set, but I got to see a little bunny, and I got to see the almost full moon. I actually started doing this thing. I don't know if I should say this on the internet, but I'm trying to just be more, just say whatever I want to say. See, okay, the PR angles that I could see. Okay, I'll just say it, and then I will divulge what PR disasters I could see coming from this. But I started doing a full moon fast every month, where I just fast for like 24. I've done 48 hours before. There are like arguments that maybe fasting is not as good for women, but there's also like studies that fasting is really good for like stopping cancer growth. But the reason why I started doing it was because someone said that the parasites in your stomach are most active on the full moon. So if you want to do a fast during the month, and it's also just aligns like with my time of the month and stuff, it's like good. It's not like a time where I need to eat. I do that once a month because I just want to do it. I don't know. I feel like I'm always doing things to like break patterns. The PR things that I could see coming is like I've never really struggled with eating disorders, so like if you have like an eating disorder, like don't do it. This is just like for me because like I've been doing a sober month that's like not, indulging in drinking or smoking or whatever. I actually think I want to continue that for the year. That's my goal for like my 28th year. It would just be really interesting because I haven't done that for a year since I like started drinking. And I feel like, like a day of not eating is not going to kill you, especially in the Western world where we overeat a lot. And it's really interesting too. Like, first of all, it shows you how much probably you're overeating. I don't know. It's not for everyone because I actually have a lot of friends who I think don't eat enough just out of like not wanting to cook and like maybe laziness, especially people like my age or younger in their like 20s. I think some of my friends definitely don't eat enough, especially guy friends, actually maybe girlfriends too. But I don't have that problem. I've never had that problem. So I like to do a fast every month, and I just happen to align it with a full moon. So that's what I'll be doing in 2 days on the 25th. And Karen making homemade kombucha. Okay, so that's kind of my update. I will be getting some structure to these podcasts, but I was moving. I mean, I can create excuses all day, but my last week was spent moving and spending some quality time with my parents and my boyfriend. That's so weird to say. So that's kind of what I was doing. And I was really tired after I moved. Like, I don't know if it was just like from moving, but I would like fell asleep in the car. I fell asleep in the airport. I napped a bunch like throughout the day here, and I still had like a full night's sleep. So I think I caught up on like a lot of sleep that I didn't know that I was missing. So I am excited and ready to go. I am currently editing my I Got Fleas in NYC video. I'm debating if I should call it that or if I should call it something else for SEO. This is like the problem that I have with like trying to do it as my job, but also just trying to satisfy myself and create what I'm trying to create just kind of for myself and for my own story in my head and the stories that I want to tell my grandchildren. So I'm excited. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be posting that this week because it just needs to go. And I need to move on from that little chapter. And I don't know, as of like probably after I graduated, I always kind of saw the Lunar New Year. I don't know, I just gravitate towards celebrating it. Like I celebrated it a lot in New York, and like I would make people go eat in Chinatown, or I don't know, it's kind of not my preferred New Year, but I feel like it makes more sense as a New Year date. So that's coming up on the 10th. If you're looking into that, I don't know why that's important to me, but that's like another date that I flag as like a great date to have like a new fresh start. So, but I've actually been keeping up pretty well with my resolutions. Not that I've made too many, but I only have like creating more videos and walking 8 to 10,000 steps a day, and and my sobriety. So that's been going great. So thank you so much for watching. New episodes with some structure to come, but for now, those are some pretty good updates, I feel, for moving and dating. So as you can tell, if you're watching this on YouTube, the sun is setting. Do me a favor by clicking subscribe to the Unemployed Millennial YouTube channel as I build up my numbers. Outreach becomes easier if people see that there's like a little squad of people willing to watch these videos and listen, and leave an emoji. Leave a heart emoji. My favorite heart is the white heart. But leave your favorite heart emoji, and I will talk to you in my next episode on Tuesday. Bye everyone.